Hi, it's Rob Conrad. We're back with another edition of Collecting Cars with Rob Conrad. You know, I've known Edgar Barron for years. He's done some incredible work. How incredible? I really didn't know until I saw this clip. It's from Motor Trend TV. Watch this interview and you'll see exactly how good he is.
Well, the passion that Daniel has for this car is obviously unwavering. We feel it all here in the garage, of course. But what I find so interesting is you're actually leading the ship as it relates to kind of everything under the hood. What is your background to kind of be the captain here?
Well, okay, so I do have a background in vehicles. It's just a hobby I started with at a young age. And then as I grew older, I got into cars. I was able to meet up with the right people. And I built some award-winning cars. I've been with Jay Leno. I won a Concours Elegance in Boca Raton. So having that background, you know, and I love to share that with my brothers. And so, you know, and I help people a lot. So when it comes to his car, I was like, I want to do it all to your car. So let's go with this, you know. So that's where I get involved.
That was Helping Hands Garage, Penelope Cruz with Edgar. Now, in our interview that you're about to see, he describes those cars you saw little quick glimpses of. You'll learn about them and how they came to be. So let's get started in his garage now. Here we go. Today, we're with Edgar Barron at Morgan Muscle. And when a car guy comes in here, Edgar, you look around at all this and you wonder exactly what's going on. And you're going to tell us today, aren't you?
I am. I'm going to fill you in on all the projects we got going on, Rob, and I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be really exciting.
You got some real muscle, and there's astounding stories you're about to hear about the muscle they put in these cars and what guys do. So let's get going. Okay, Edgar, I want to start with this Pontiac here. Now, this one looks really extra special. Tell us the story.
This one's a great car right here. So this owner right here, what he did is he bought it up north, brought it to us. It is an original white with blue eagle on it. And so he wanted a full restoration, and we've done a full restoration on this one.
What year is it, Edgar?
This is a 1978.
Okay.
It is a TA 6.6. It is actually not a TA 6.6. Of course, we've done the famous LS swap on this vehicle. Along with, that's pretty much the going thing with all your GM vehicles nowadays, is doing the LS
Okay,
swap.
now it looks, from the outside, it looks like it would be original. Why did he decide to do the swap rather than rebuild the original engine?
So the biggest thing that we find people saying is they want they want to feel safe, they want to feel comfortable, and they know that doing that with the newer type engine is much more reliable than the older school.
There we go. What else do we want to look at this morning?
We got plenty of vehicles in here, Rob. Let's walk around for a little bit.
Yeah.
As you walk this way, most of our cars are covered because in between our opening and closing shop, we cover our cars just for dust purposes and to keep everything off. And also we do work around the cars. So as we work around the cars, we like to keep our cars covered.
Sure.
I have removed some covers here. This is a 66 Nova. Again, LS swapped. This was an original 350 car, or what most people call a Chevy 2, I guess you could call them, but they're 66 Nova, box Novas. This one again, updated suspension, interior, engine, transmission, brakes, you name it.
Wow.
All again to make it a modern day muscle car.
Okay, now how about the Thunderbird? Don't tell me this has an LS swap.
This does not have an LS swap, but it does have a fuel injected motor. So this originally came with a 312 in it, the original Ford motor that came with it. This one's been updated to a 302 fuel injected motor. And of course, it's got the beautiful blue going on it. You'll see some tape marks on it and stuff like that. It's just to protect from things that we're about to do with it. Beautiful car, beautiful custom interior.
Did you do the interior?
We did do the interior. We did everything in-house. And then again, this was a full frame-off restoration. We're almost done with this one, actually. We just got a couple more things to button it up, and the customer will be getting it back really soon.
Now, do most people, when they have a car they want you to work on, do they know of you from their friends or word of mouth, or how do people know
honestly,
about
Rob,
you?
most of it has been word of mouth. We don't do a lot of advertising simply because if we did a lot of advertising, I think we'd get overwhelmed with the amount of work that we'd get in.
Right.
So most of it has been word of mouth. We do have a website people can go to, of course, and that's what, you look up, hey, old cars and stuff like that. We usually do pop-ups like that.
Yeah.
But most of it is word of mouth, and, just getting your name out there, being honest with everybody and being upfront with everybody, I think is what's put us on the map more.
Okay, now it looks to me like, as we look around in here, you've got about, do you have all you can handle now? Or if I brought a car to you, would you say to me,
so we do work, we do work on appointment only. A lot of these vehicles, they're not full restorations. Not only do we do full restorations, but we do little things too. Some people come in for brake upgrades or just engine upgrades, and those things can take about a week or two, and that's about it. So the turnaround on those kind of things isn't that hard.
Okay, I know we've talked about the term rotisserie restoration.
Sure.
Can you explain that? I know there's a lot of people coming in, watching our videos that are learning about these things. So what's going on?
So absolutely. So rotisserie, think about it, you know, when you think rotisserie, a lot of people think food and
Yeah.
chicken and all that. Well, basically it's the same process. So rotisserie, what it does is it supports the car from the back to the front, and it allows the car to turn. If you look behind me, this car is also on a rotisserie, and it allows us to turn the car. And basically what it does is it allows us to work on the car and get to every access point much, much easier. It makes our job a lot easier and makes it go quicker.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
both of these are 64 Chevelles, actually. It's kind of neat. And if you look at this kind of work, this is what people bring to us for full restoration. You can see this quarter panel is completely rotted out from, you know, time and age and water and weather. So we'll go through here and we'll replace this whole panel. We've already done the floors on this car, and we've already done the firewall.
now, do you make a panel or do you buy a panel? How does that
Actually,
work?
you know, you'd be actually surprised and shocked what the world of restoration does for us today. The world of restoration has so many parts available. They are actually available for this vehicle right here.
Wow.
So your Chevelles, your Mustangs, your Novas.
Mopar's involved with that?
Mopars, absolutely. A lot of Mopar parts. There are companies all over the world that reproduce these parts, and makes our life a lot easier than actually going through and replacing everything a little bit.
And
at a
I
time.
would imagine less expensive for the customer, too.
It is less expensive for the customer, yeah, because I mean, even though I have an amazing fabricator who could make this panel if we needed to, if it wasn't available, just buying the part and putting it on there makes our life a lot easier, for sure.
Fantastic. All right.
You can see on this one, the floor has already been redone, and we already recoated it in the original 1960s undercoating. So this is going to be a factory restoration. When we do a factory restoration, we go back with the original rivets, holes, everything that goes back from the factory. We'll go back to original, and we'll also use the original coatings and everything they did, so the car will be 100% correct.
Wow. So tell me, will these two Chevelles come out with LS engines or
Okay,
original
so
engine?
interesting enough, here in a little bit, I will show you, I actually have the frame and the engine to this one. This one right here is actually going to be a very high-end vehicle. This one right here has got a, it's going to have a custom frame. It has a 750 horsepower motor going into it. We're actually going to be tubbing the rear of this car.
Okay, that means it makes it wider for the big
Correct.
tires?
So when we tub the inside, from the inside, we'll be cutting it all the way back so we can fit a much wider tire. I think he's going for a 13 to 14 inch wide tire. So we'll have to narrow the rear end and make room for the tire to fit underneath.
A lot of work.
A lot of work. But like I said, some customers want to go back factory, some want to go resto mod and really go far with it. And we're able to do both of those for any customer.
Okay, let's see what else we have.
Sure. As we walk right here, we're going to be walking around a frame.
Yeah.
This is a frame for a 60s Bronco. And what we're going to be doing here is cutting out some of the rot that you can see up front.
Yeah.
And then attaching new parts to it. This will be done on our welding table here. And then it'll be squared off. And then the customer will bring us the body soon so we can work on that.
Now, didn't you tell me an interesting story about this Camaro?
This is a great story. So this is the original owner of this Camaro. It's a 69 Camaro. He bought it when he was 16. After he had it for many, many years, he said it sat in the garage, and he brought it back to us. He was like, hey, I want a full restoration. Well, when he brought it to us, it was actually not going to be a full restoration. He wanted little touch-ups here and there just to get it back on the road. Well, of course, that turned into it being a full build. It's just what he wanted to do. He was like, I'm retiring soon, and I've always wanted my car back the way I've wanted it. So that's what we've done for the customer. This is a factory yellow car. The stripes that are on it are actually supposed to be stickers, but we went above and beyond on it, and we painted the stickers on there. So these are buried stickers. These are painted, they're not buried stickers. They're painted emblems. They're called hockey stripes on the 69 Camaro, and they're painted on there. So when the car's on all that, it's going to give it that extra look.
Now, is that the motor and frame over there for the car?
No, that motor and frame is actually to the Chevelle that we talked about earlier.
Oh, okay. The one over here on the
rotisserie.
Wow.
I'll show you that one in just a second. So this customer originally came with a 350, but of course, when he came to us, he wanted a little bit more, so we went a little bit further on his. LSX 454, they're rated around 700 horsepower, 700 foot-pounds of torque. We put a 6-speed manual transmission in it, and we have done his suspension complete from front to back, custom exhaust. It's got exhaust cutouts. This car actually runs and drives really, really well. He's not too far from what we call being finished, and that would be putting wheels and tires on it, finishing an interior, and polishing it up and getting it back on the road. Great, great story with this. Glad he kept it with us. Glad it's here. Glad that we're working on an original owner vehicle. I really like that.
That is one of the great stories, and that's part of the whole collectible car realm, that these people who have had these cars originally, or their grandfather had it, or someone in the family, That's where I think the real fun begins.
It is, and to me, it is also astonishing to me that these people at 16, 17, 18 years old, they didn't know these cars were going to be worth this much. I mean, nobody knew back then, you know, and you know, people ask all the time, if you had a time machine, that's crazy. Everybody's like, oh, I want to go back. I was like, I'd go back and buy me some Hemis, some Shelby GT 500s, some 69 Camaros, some Yenkos, and just bring them all back here and retire, because that's what you could do nowadays with those kind of vehicles.
I tell you, Edgar, I grew up in Spokane, Washington. My uncle owned a Chrysler Plymouth dealership.
Oh, my God.
And I remember seeing wing cars in his showroom. And if he had any idea what was going to happen with all these cars and Hemis that he had there, he'd roll over. Because one time we were out to lunch, we went by we left a restaurant, and there was a 57 Chevy, real nice hardtop sitting out, really clean. And he says, you know what I could get for that on the used car lot? I said, what? He held up one finger. I get $1,000 for that. In fact, it was a big deal.
Gosh.
He would die now, wouldn't
he? He would. He would. He would.
Rest his soul. Yeah.
This is another thing, Rob, is we do a lot of trucks. So the truck world is growing like crazy, and it's really neat to watch, because trucks used to be a thing of the past and no one really cared about them. They were work vehicles.
Yeah.
Now trucks have become really, really customizable, and we have a lot of customers that want to do that. This one right here is a 70 C10 step side. We've done a lot of work to this car, and then you know, a lot of people come to us. Originally, this had a 350 in it, and of course, you know, we've gone above and beyond on this one. It's just kind of things we like to do. We custom built engine, all the metal fabrication and all that was built by my fabricator here. You can look up here, engine reflection and all that. This one's got a neat little touch that we did to it.
Okay.
And I'll show you what that is here. Let's see.
Oh, the lights, very cool.
It's just something we went out. He's like, you know, I really want to go over the top. This customer did. I was like, oh, let me see what we can do for you. So we just added little things here and there.
So do you do the valve covers? Did you do the custom stuff?
Yes, we did. We did all that. That's all custom work in here, and she's kind of dirty right now. She's been here for a little bit, but we're finishing it up. There's a couple more little touches we got to do, and then she'll be out of here. But this truck's great. This is a 575 LS motor, you know, with custom everything. This one's got custom suspension from front to back. It's got a 4-link in the back, custom wheelwood brakes, transmission, and interior engages. So,
now, when you have all these things you've just mentioned, do you suggest them to the customer? Does he say, "I'd like these things," and bring that to you? Or
so there's a lot of talking and I guess you could say selling on those things, because people ask me, "Hey, I want a truck. What do you think about this, or what do you think about that?" I always will make my recommendations what I think would make a great looking truck. You know, and of course a lot of it has to do with your finances. These things are not cheap. You know, this kind of stuff is not cheap, and it's one of those things. You know, people will say, "I have a budget," then I'll try to work within their budget.
Okay.
But some people come to me and says, "What can you do for me?" And then I give it to them, and if they say, "Okay," for example, this customer here was, "Hey, I trust you, Edgar. I want an engine bay that's unbelievable." So that's what we came up with.
Yeah, you came up with one. Now, you sent me a clip of you on the Motor Trend TV.
Right.
And you're wrenching, looked like a 318 out of a Charger, is that right?
Yeah, a 73 Dodge Charger, 318. So they called me and they said, "Hey, we really like you to get you on the show. And then we're working on this 318. I was like, "Sure, I can do that." It was called Helping Hands Garage.
Okay.
Had a blast doing that. It was actually even better because it was for my brother. I called, they were like, "We want you to come down here." And I was like, "I'll do it if y'all can have this car on here," because I was trying to help my brother.
His car?
His car,
Okay.
yeah. Because he's always wanted to be on a TV show and get his car worked on. So we kind of hooked everything up together and went forward from that. And it turned out to just be a lot of fun.
And I was really noticing during the breakdown, you were saying, "Look how clean this is. This engine is so clean."
It was, because it's funny. Me and my brother have a big joke going that Dodge Charger is not my favorite Charger by any means.
Right.
It's a 73. It's not the prettiest car, but he loves it. It's just, he was like, he reminds me of the Richard Petty 43, which that's the car.
Yeah.
That was the car, you know. So I told him, I was like, you know, the 318 and doing all that, but when we took it apart, because it's a 100% original car, 100, never been taken apart. And I was thinking it was going to be messes, but when we took the intake off, it was flawless. I was like, it was so well taken care of. It was unbelievable.
Is that because he changes the oil regularly?
He did.
Yeah.
He changed oil regularly, and he just happened to find one of those gems out there that somebody took care of, you know, for over 50 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great one. It was a great one. I really liked doing that show, and working on that car was fantastic.
You know, I'd love to go over and look at that frame for the Camaro,
Sure,
and the Camaro that's
absolutely.
actually above it. What's going on with the blue car?
So the blue car is a 68 Camaro that the customer actually ordered an engine for. It's an all aluminum 427 LS base motor. It's about a 650 horse.
Wow.
But he got as far as he could go and then basically said, he was like, hey, I don't know what else to do. I got the engine in, but I don't know what else to do. So he brought it to us and said, get it running for me and do everything else you can to it. So he brought it to us and we did all the wiring, the computer, the tuning to get it running for him.
Okay, and the engine and frame is for the one over on the
So the engine and the
rotisserie,
frame is actually for the Chevelle that we had on its side where I showed you the undercoating.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So the one that had the undercoating, this is what's going in this one. Again, another great story with this Chevelle.
Okay.
This Chevelle belongs to, he's actually a retired test pilot in the Air Force, and he wants to build this for his grandson. His grandson is turning 16 and is currently learning how to drive a manual. So that's why it has a manual in it. So this is a cool car. This is a 327 original motor to the Chevelle. This is the original frame and all that. He found a really, really good one to work on, and it was kind of a grandfather-grandson project, and this is what they're doing. So we're working on the body. He brought us the frame. We redid the frame, painted the whole frame, everything. He came and picked up the frame. We did the suspension on it, and he was like, I want to take it back and work on it with my grandson. So they put the engine, exhaust, and the manual transmission in it, and they're just like, so when we're done, bring it back to us so we can put your body back on this frame. Great story.
Great stories. They abound.
It is, yes.
All right.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
All right. And you have, what are we doing up on this car here?
So this is a 69 Camaro. This also has an LSX 454 in it. Real strong, real powerful car. This one right here is getting a new rear end in it. This car is handle high amount of horsepower and a high amount of torque, so you have to be able to build the rear ends to handle that. And that's what we're putting in this one.
It looks very beefy.
It is very beefy. Yes, this is a very, very strong car. And like I said, it's got 700 foot-pounds of torque, and when you drive it, you absolutely felt it. But we're beefing up the rear end to handle it even better than before. So that's where we are with that one.
Okay, now you guys have another shop. What goes on at the other shop?
The other shop is what we call our finish building. Basically, after we do everything here, we go through and we do all the finishing touches in that building. Okay. Being wiring, all of our interior is done in the other building. Our custom interior, everything else is done in the other building. And we do a little bit of start of the vehicles, and then we build most of them here, and then we take them over there to finish up the wiring, the convertible tops, the interiors, and just putting it all the car back together.
Now I noticed we took a peek over there before, and I saw a '58 Chevrolet. Now it was a 4-door model. It wasn't like a convertible 2-door hardtop or something like that. What do you think motivates? And you said there was a female owner who had that car.
It is a female owner.
What is the reason why? What are you doing to that car for her, by the way?
So her car caught on fire. She was driving down the road and she noticed a bunch of smoke coming out from under the dash. So she said, I'm done with this. And so we were like, okay. I was like, do you know? She was like, I have no idea. So she brought it to us. She was like, I really need this worked on. I was like, okay. Well, I was like, my recommendation right away was we just need to replace the wiring. You have wiring that's 60, 70 years old. I was like, there's no reason to just replace or fix little things. And she agreed. So we literally ripped every wire out of that car from the headlights to the taillights and all in between.
So no LS swap, just get it running the way she wants it.
Get it the way she wants it running. And, you know, we're lucky enough to have companies out there that make wiring harnesses for vehicles that old. Yeah. And it's just a matter of, you know, it takes a lot of time. But once you get it done, you know, it's great. You're safe again and you're able to drive your vehicle.
Now, when we talked before, you made an analogy about the original cars versus one that's a resto mod. And you talked about an original Corvette that may cross the line at an auction. It gets a lot of money, but one with a serious resto mod could actually get more. Is that usually the case? It is correct,
and it's weird how I remember growing up, everybody wanted, like you would see a 67 427 Vet come across and it'd be $250,000, $300,000, and people were like, ooh and ahhing, you know, it's an NCRS winner and it's a 100-point car. Those were used to be the things, but as time has changed, and I think a new style of, you know, builder has come along, they want the look of the car, but they want the power and the you know, the reliability and all that of new engine muscle, new transmissions, new brakes, new axles, all that. So imagine building a car, you know, you get an original 66 Corvette, 67, and it goes for $250,000. Well, I can build you a resto mod Corvette that'll bring more than that. And it's just weird how the world has changed, but that's what they're looking for.
Is that because of the demographics of the buyers? Is younger people doing it now, you think?
I want to say it's not only that, but I think people are unfortunately forgetting how to work on the older vehicles. So it's a newer generation that's like, hey, how do you work on a carburetor? How do you adjust valves? Well, all it's different now. And so when you get that newer generation of people saying, hey, and it's a lot easier because I can just order a motor out of a box and a transmission out of a box, hook them together, put them in a car, and I have a vehicle. So the simplicity of it is getting a lot easier than actually tearing down a motor, you know, gapping your rings, building motors and filing down your cranks, doing all that. So it's a simplicity thing. And then, I've always said, I was like, if Chevy or Ford would build a modern day Mustang like it did in the 60s, or a modern day Corvette like it did in the 60s, I really believe that they would sell. And of course, add all the airbags and the features and all that. I really do think they would sell.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things.
A word to someone who wants to get into this business, to be you. Where can they go to learn this business, to learn the trade, to learn to do all this with all these customers trusting you for all this work? Is there a way to go?
Rob, that's hard to say. I've just been in it for a very long time. I started at a very young age, and I was fortunate enough to meet up with the right people and get involved in the business and be able to build cars and win awards and stuff like that. So I was very fortunate in that. A lot of people can do great work, but they're not in big cities, or they don't get noticed enough, or they don't get enough views on their Facebook or their YouTubes and stuff like that. So it's really, really hard. But I have just been blessed with meeting with the right people and going forward with my career.
All right, now you were mentioning some of the awards. Tell me about that Mustang that you won a Great Concours Award from.
Yeah, so I built a 66 K-Code GT convertible. It was a real GT car. And, it started out as a build for a great customer. We didn't think we were going to enter it in any type of show. He just wanted the car. And that's what was the crazy thing about it. So we were just building him a car. And then he was like, hey, I want to get entered in a show. And I was like, I don't think your car's that good. He was like, no. I was like, so we did. And there was a show in Boca Raton. It was the Concours Elegant show. And I was like, this show's not easy to get to. There's a lot of qualifications, pictures, things you have to do. But we sent it off, and they replied, and they were like, we would love to have your car here. And I was actually shocked just at that. Even more shocked, we ended up winning the show. So that one took me over the edge right there. I got to make Jay Leno. He gave us the prize for it and all that. So it was really, really neat to go on that, whole process and procedure.
Of the work you've done, is that the one you're most proud of, or is there another you would point out?
Definitely that one surprised me the most. I think it all started out with me with the 57 Cadillac that I built. It was actually one of the first resto mods that everybody told us we couldn't do. It was a 57 Eldorado Barritz convertible, beautiful car. It had the original motor, transmission, and all that. Well, the first thing the owner said is, I want to be able to drive to California. I want to be able to drive to Florida. And the first thing I said, I was like, well, you don't want to do this engine and transmission. He was like, what do you mean? He was like, why don't I put a new style engine in for you? And he agreed. So, but this was back 15, 20 years ago now. And when we started doing that venture, everybody told us that we couldn't do it.
Now, why do they say that?
It hadn't been done.
Wow.
At that time, LS swaps weren't a very popular thing. We were trying to stick a Corvette engine in a frame, a 57 Cadillac frame, which is very different. And they're like, no, nobody makes. See, nowadays is people make everything for everything. If you want to put an LS in a truck, a Trans Am, a Jaguar, it doesn't matter. They have kits for everything. Well, back then, nothing was available. So I was able to get the engine. That wasn't a problem. I was able to get the transmission. That wasn't a problem. But to make the mounts and everything else work, the wiring, it was unavailable. So I had to do it all myself. I did it all myself. And so when we drove around, everybody was like, well, how did you do that? And everybody's like, well, you just do it. You just make yourself do it. That's what a fabricator does. That's what a car builder does, is they build things that's great and everything like that. So at that time, it was great. And we actually ended up in the Hot Rod Power Tour. The Motor Trend magazine did a great, Hot Rod magazine did a great article on us on that one, because they were like, that's amazing, because we've never seen that before. And so it was great at that time.
Well, congratulations on your career and everything you've done. And the shop is fantastic, man.
I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much.